Hello there everybody, this is Mr. Schwartz. I'm back with another How to Draw video for Mr. Schwartz's Art Hour, and this week, it's the electric mouse himself, the most iconic Pokemon of all time, Pikachu. Meet me on the other side of this scene transition, and let's get ourselves started. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so to draw ourselves our own adorable little Pikachu, we're going to start off with two circles, one for the head and one for the body. So I'll just draw my first circle here real quick. Keep this one nice and loose, because when we get onto later on in the process, we're going to be sculpting the actual face out of this structure. So don't make it too heavy so you can easily erase it later. Now, as for the second circle for the body, what we're going to want to actually do is keep the circle more off to the side here, because instead of being straight up and down, Pikachu's actually going to be shifted at an angle instead. So when we draw the second circle, we're going to want to make the top of it intersect with the first circle that we drew, just like so, and then going to make this one just a little bit larger than the head, not too much larger, but this should give you a good idea of the approximate size that they should be. Yours can actually just be bigger or smaller than this. It all depends on what kind of Pikachu you actually want to have when you're all done. Make that a little bit darker just so you can see that better. There we go. Making sure it's focused. Yes, it is. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and divide the face. And so what you want to keep in mind is that since we're drawing Pikachu at an angle, we don't want to draw the middle of the head straight up and down like this. That wouldn't make much sense. What you actually want to think about is that if you tilt your drawing so that Pikachu is flat to you, then it's much easier to do the face. You can just divide it in half right down here like we normally do. And then we're going to divide the entire thing into 4 equal sections just like this. And clean that up. And so now you can see that when I shift it back, when I shift the paper back so that it's at where it originally was, now it made it much easier to go ahead and draw that in, as opposed to trying to draw it at an angle. That can be tricky for especially new drawers. Just shift the paper so that he's straight to you, and then draw it. Much easier that way. And then we're going to go ahead and dash in the rough shapes for the ears. And the first ear we're going to draw over here, and it's going to be pointing fairly straight up, and his ears are basically in a feather shape. So they're skinnier on each end, and they get a little bit wider in the middle. So you want to have a shape that's roughly like this, and ends at a pretty decent point up at the end. Then over on this one, what you want to keep in mind is that Pikachu rarely ever has his ears pointing the exact same direction on both sides. Typically one will be a little bit flatter than the other one, and so in this case, we'll make this ear pointing a little ways further off to the side than the other one was. Once again, keeping the base skinnier than the middle end, getting back up to a skinnier part up at the end, just like so. So there's the basic shapes that we have right now. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is zoom into the face, and we'll start the actual features for Pikachu. Okay, so now what we want to do is we're going to draw in his features, and to do that, we're going to start with his nose, which is just going to be a little button of a thing right here in the middle of his face. Just like so. And then we can go ahead and sketch in his eyes, which they're a lot simpler than some of the avatar things that we've been doing lately. They're just 2 circles. So basically for these circles, you want to make them even so that the top half is the same height as the bottom half when it goes through the middle line for the face. So once again, the top half and the bottom half should be roughly equal when they're divided by the middle line. So I'll clean that up a little bit. I always sketch things pretty roughly first, so then I can see what I need to fix as I move around to the next parts of the features. Now the trickier part is getting this eye to be roughly the same as that eye. Just do your best, and you can always adjust things as long as you draw lightly enough. Also want to avoid making the shapes of the circles too weird. Try and keep everything fairly nice and rounded. For our version of Pikachu anyway. And there we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Alright, and then I'll go ahead and put in the eye detailing, which is just going to be a single little circle of light that we want to put it at an angle so that it looks like right now that he's looking up. It won't look like that later. We just need the shine to be right there for the time being. And then what we want to do is for his mouth. Now he has kind of like a mouse vibe to him since he's the electric mouse Pokemon. So the top of his mouth is not going to be straight across, but rather it's going to have a little flap like this. So it always starts higher up in the middle of his face, and then it slopes down as it moves out to some capacity always. We want to keep make it about even on both sides. Make sure that when we get out to the edge here that you curve it up so that it makes it clear that Pikachu is smiling and not frowning. Because who wants to see sad Pikachu? It makes us feel sad. And then we're going to make his mouth wide open, so I'll leave a little bit of space here at the end of the line. And then I'll draw a wide loop that goes down to almost the end of the face shape that we have right here. And then comes back up at around the same angle on the other side. So there's our Pikachu face so far, and he's looking pretty good. Just remember to keep this little muzzle shape in the middle of the face here. That's very important to capturing the iconic look of Pikachu. Clean that up there on the side. Okay. Now what we want to go ahead and do is we're going to take this outline of his face and make it look more like what the on-screen model should look like. So what we're going to do first is we're going to come down here to the bottom of the head, and I'm going to start drawing in a darker line along that same circle that I drew before. But as I start coming out, I'm going to actually go beyond the edge of this circle here. I'm going to start adding more of a rounded cheek to the outside of his face here, because Pikachu does have pretty large and puffy cheeks. As it comes back around to the eye line, I'm going to start curving it in just slightly, so it looks like that. And then when I hit that middle line, I'm going to bulge it back out very slightly and curve it back in when it hits the ear right here. Then I'll just reestablish that ear shape. Again, making it fairly pointed as it reaches the edge here. And around the top here, the top of Pikachu's head is actually not that rounded compared to the rest of him. Instead, it's actually fairly flat across here. So we can connect the two ears with more of a flat surface than a rounded one, like so. I'll just reestablish the ear shape over here, making sure that you can still see me. I am learning. Those of you that stuck with me from the beginning, you know my tendency to move things off screen and continue talking about things that you clearly cannot see. I'm getting better. I'm trying my best. Okay, and then we're going to finish off this side, we're going to come back here because it's easier this way. Going to come back here, and just like before, I'm going to move just past this circle that I drew before to draw his rounded out cheeks. And they're going to start curving back in right before I hit the middle eye line over here. And then it's going to curve back out slightly to connect with the ear, just like so. So this is the basic shape that we should have for Pikachu's head right now. Okay, now that I've gone ahead and zoomed out, we're going to take this time to change Pikachu's body shape, because it's not quite this rotund and round. We're going to sketch inside here using this as our reference point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out to basically where the head meets the edge of the circle right here. And I'm going to start drawing a shape that's a little bit skinnier than the circle. And I'm going to have it go down and down until it actually meets up with the circle at the bottom here, like so. So you can see this is where the outside circle was, and this is the new shape that I drew. What I want to do then is I'm going to sketch around here, basically following the edge of that circle, until I come to about here, which would basically be, if I were to draw a middle line right here, dividing them like so, it would basically be just about to hit the middle line here. What I want to do then is I'm going to draw a line that curves up and through there, and it comes and it hits the edge of the circle right over here. So a shape that looks roughly like that. And then this part is going to leave the circle and form a semicircle loop before entering back in the body at about here. What I can then do is follow this same circle right here. To get this part of his body, I can follow this same circle. And as I start coming up here, I'm going to curve off of that and have a line that curves up into his neck so that it meets right at the point where the neck and the outside circle of the body met before. Now yours may look a little bit different than mine, and once again, that's fine. If you think your Pikachu looks too skinny up in the neck area, you can always do something like this and just widen out how much neck there is. And this is going to form the part of Pikachu's leg and foot over here, in case you were wondering. So what I can then do is, once I have that established, I have this sticking out a little bit too far, so I'm going to just shorten up how much of a curve there is to that. We shouldn't have much more of a curve than this. And to finish off his legs down here, basically what I want to do is remember that Pikachu, I'm drawing him at an angle. So instead of drawing him straight like this, I'm drawing him at an angle. So the middle of his body, like I said, is tilted to the side, like so. So that means when I draw the other leg shape that we're going to have over here, I can't have it be straight up here across like this. That wouldn't make any sense. And so then what I can then do is I want to draw another shape, another curve, but this time instead of being off to the side, this one is facing towards us, so all we're going to see is a little bit of a curve like this. Probably a little bit larger of a curve. There we go, that's more of what we're talking about. Try and keep it a fairly consistent curve all the way over too. Don't make it too rounded or too sloped in one section. Just have a little rainbow curve there. Okay, so that's basically what we want here. Maybe a little bit more of a curve down here. Once again, always little adjustments here and there will make all the difference. And since you see me clearly doing it right here, that means it's perfectly alright if you do. Okay, now what we're going to do after kicking my desk accidentally, we're going to go ahead and do his arms. Now his arms are very, very simple. They're just basically two little wedges. So by that I mean that over here, we're going to draw Pikachu's arm so that it's waving towards us. So the arm is going to, this is the outside edge of the arm his arm, and it's going to come up to about right here. And then the other part of his arm is going to be behind his head, so all we're going to see is a little part that emerges right at the point where the middle line for his head is. And we can connect those with just a series of little spikes. It's never been determined, I think, as to how many spikes Pikachu has on his fingers. I would say just maybe like 5 or 6. It all depends on you. And then over here, we're not going to be showing much of Pikachu's neck in this piece. So what we're going to be doing is Pikachu's arm is going to come out of his head at about right here. And then his other part of his arm is going to be, it shouldn't be much further down than where this arm is located on his body. So if I were to draw a line straight over, the arm probably shouldn't go past here. And they will meet just like so, and have a few little spikes connecting between the two of them. Now if you don't think that your spikes look very good, if you draw them lightly enough, you can just erase them and try again. There we go. Clean up this a little bit, not have quite so much of a little slope there. Okay, and so now what we can do, this is a marathon, I know. What we can do now is do his feet, which are very simple. They're just basically, again, the same kind of feather shape that we had up for his ears. So what we can do is we can draw a curving feather shape that is slightly pointed on the edge down here and goes above this little leg section of his body to meet like this. This is basically the kind of shape that you want. And over here what we can do is we're going to draw the shape so that the outside of it actually emerges beyond the leg, like so. And then when it curves around, it does move into the leg section ever so slightly. So it looks like Pikachu's hopping up in the air with happiness. Can you go ahead and erase that then? And you can definitely tell that this is Pikachu. I mean, his body, his face, everything. But there is one thing that's missing. And after I clean all this stuff up, I'm going to come back and show you what exactly that is. If you haven't figured it out already. Okay everybody, I'm back, and as you can see I went ahead and got rid of all the guiding lines, and I also erased the section of the body that intersected with his arms because we don't need that. And you can also see right up here that I did leave a little bit of some line space between his ears because that's how the actual animation model and most drawings of him actually look as well. So now what we need to do is, of course, Pikachu needs his tail. And the way we're going to draw on the tail is we're going to start with the back section, which is the part that we're going to see the least of. And it's going to be right back here, basically right on his eye level. And it's going to go up at an angle just like so, until it reaches just past the point where the hands are. And then we want to draw another line, and his tail is basically made up of all straight edges. There's no curves or anything to his tail, so keep that in mind. I mean, I drew it down further than I need to because actually the last finger that you have here is where the line for the other side of his tail is at. And what you want to do is make this angle that you draw here the same angle as this line is right here. Otherwise it will look a little bit off. So let's try and match the angle of those two lines. And once we have that, it's a simple matter of coming below the arm about right here and starting to draw a series of small straight edge zigzags like this. They go very close to his body, but right when they're about to hit it, we stop and move out again. And it doesn't matter too much as to the angle of these lines. They can vary depending on his tail being in various different positions. The most important one to get right is this one back here. Come back into his body again and just about to hit it. And then one very small zigzag there, and now it actually goes into his body just like that. And if you think yours look a little bit off, then you can always just clean it up and switch it around a little bit. So for example, I'll just show you, I can make this one a little bit smaller of an angle, and then it can enter his body a little bit further up. Just like that. And then what we can do is, Pikachu's tail is very skinny down here at the base. So what we're going to do to showcase that is right here, just a little ways below, beyond his armpit, we're going to draw a line that goes down just about to here, and then moves into the body. We can draw another very small one right here. So that gives the appearance that Pikachu's tail gets skinnier as it goes downward, which is a little bit odd considering how wide his tail is out here. But hey, that's a thing about the animation model. And now there's just a few more details that I can show you before I'm going to ink this thing up and finish this whole video up. So what we can do first is right down here on the tail that we just drew, we can draw a series of zigzags right near where the base of the tail is to show us that that's where the different colored fur would be on his tail. What we can also do is come here and give him his iconic Pikachu cheeks, which in this case, we're not going to see the entire circle of it. We're just going to see a little bit of a semicircle that gets cut off by the side of the face over here. We can do the same thing over here. Once again, this side of the circle is cut off by the edge of the face. And then for the eyes, what we can actually do is we're going to draw another semicircle, just like so, on both of them. And then we're going to shade that in pretty darkly. So you can see what happens is now Pikachu doesn't really look like he's looking up, he looks more like he's looking straight at you. You can shade in that part, like so. And if he still looks like he's looking up, you can always finish off that semicircle up there and put some dark space above it. And then what we can do is we can draw the black tips of his ears, which is just a curving line on both sides, like so. And a little bit of some black on this side of his mouth, to make it look like his mouth isn't completely overtaken by his giant tongue. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is Pikachu. What I'm going to go ahead and do is first I'm actually going to take this side of the head and I'm going to make it curve a little bit further closer into the body. There we go. Just for my own personal OCD with these things. And we're actually not done. I actually missed something. I missed his toes. So what we're going to do for his toes is actually quite simple. It's just a series of 3 little curves right at the edge of his feet, because it only has 3 toes. And on this side we can only have to do 1 toe, just like that. Very simple, just a few little curves there. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is clean this guy up, get it inked up, and then come back with my final thoughts. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back, and as you can see, Pikachu is all inked up and ready to be displayed. And one thing I want to note here is that you can see that I left the cheeks and the part of his fur down here. I did not outline them with pen. Reason is because in the animation model, there's no black lines around these things in that model. They're only distinguished by the different colors. In this case, the yellow against the red, and in here, the yellow against the brown of that part of his tail. So that's just something to keep in mind. So thank you very much for watching this instructional video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found it helpful and useful in some capacity. And this has been Mr. Schwartz with another episode of Mr. Schwartz's Art Hour. Thank you very much to all of you for watching this, and to give you a clue as to what's coming next in a couple weeks, I'll be doing for right now what is my last Avatar: The Last Airbender tutorial. It's my favorite villain from the series, and I'll give you a hint: it's not Ozai. I'll see you then, ladies and gentlemen, and until then, have yourselves a great day.